Just want to maybe have each person introduce themselves, maybe say a few words. Some of you have heard already why we're here. My name is Janet Porter, president of Faith to Action, and God dropped in my heart the idea that we should pass a bill to protect babies whose hearts are beating, whose heartbeats can be heard. And the reason we're here today is the flag you see behind you, and that is an appeal to heaven. We're making an appeal to heaven because that is our nation's first flag. It is the flag that General Washington flew over our first Navy ships. When they went up against the most powerful nation in the world, they made an appeal to heaven because militarily they didn't stand a chance. But that appeal to heaven gave them a conquest. They actually conquered a British ship and captured it and gave them muskets and ammunition that helped to fuel and fund the Revolutionary War. And so we are joining our prayers with our founders as we make this appeal to heaven, as we stand on literally the promise of God that with God all things are possible. Many of you, I know, have been here throughout this process. You've seen the 3-story high balloon that said, "Pass the heartbeat bill now." You were here when the plane flew over the State House, when we delivered 5,000 balloons to the legislature, when we delivered 2,200 roses the following Valentine's Day, when we filled up the atrium to overflowing, when we had rallies inside and outside, when we did pretty much everything you can imagine to do. I ran out of ideas, and that's why we're here. We are making an appeal to heaven because God is the one that's going to have to do what we're unable to do. He's going to have to move on the hearts of these legislators, and that's what we're counting on. And as we make these deliveries, this is what we're going to be giving them. The tag says, as we give it to Governor Kasich, it says, every day in Ohio, 70 babies with beating hearts are brutally killed by abortion. Something you pledge to end, not just regulate. These are not statistics. They are real babies who will fill these clothes if only you call upon the legislature to pass the heartbeat bill for you to sign into law. Please make protecting these babies a top priority before the election, because the cost of inaction is just too high. Thank you. You want to go, John? You want to go next? We'll get the legislators first.
Yes,
That's okay.
Queue. I'm in the queue. Well, thank you, Janet. Thank you for all the work that you've done, and thank you for coming here today. 3 hours of prayer. A lot of things ran through my mind as I stood here, and as I drove here this morning. It is Constitution Day, September 17th, 1787. And 11 years earlier, we had the independence signed, and those courageous men that signed the Declaration of Independence 11 years before Constitution Day. And here we are talking about the men and the women voting on a bill that has been in the system for 4 years. And it boggles my mind for the simple fact that I wear this pin on my lapel. I always have it on my lapel. And it's not that you can pick and choose which day you're pro-life. You don't get a pick and choose. You're either pro-life or you're not. And it's not a vote before the election or after the election. It's not. So I stand here today and I struggle thinking about all the men and women in our legislature, and to think it's just a button, a green and a red button. And the politics we play with the 70 children a day, and here we are resorting to prayer. And when I finish talking, I'm going to go into the chamber, and I'm going to listen to Speaker Batchelder talk about Constitution Day. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to think about the courage of the men and the women that founded this nation and didn't worry about the politics of a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative John Adams, a true leader in the legislature. Matt Lynch, you want to come on forward?
Just thank you all again for being here, and Janet and John and Ron, two real heroes of the legislature. You know, like John, a lot of thoughts go through my head today. I recently thought it was important to look at these horrible beheading videos that are on the internet and the killing that's going on in the Mideast by ISIS. And, you know, it strikes me that our nation has been aroused to that evil, in part by that video. But I've also seen these horrible abortion videos. They're not dissimilar. And it was immediately what struck me was the evil of death, of murder being brought to an innocent life. And as a nation, as we're aroused literally to move heaven and earth to combat this evil on the other side of the world, somehow we're blind and we're silent to the 20,000 plus deaths that are occurring, 70 a day, right here in the state of Ohio. And we have to have the courage to understand that the moral fight against evil in the Mideast is no different than the moral fight against evil right here in the state of Ohio. And that evil is abortion. And we have to pray that our nation arouses to that evil as well and passes the heartbeat bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Matt Lynch. It's so good to see a member of the legislature with a worn-out Bible, isn't it? He and Representative John Adams and our fearless leader, Representative Ron Hood, are all signers of the discharge petition. That's a petition that will actually force a floor vote if only we can get 50 legislators to sign their name. And people say, oh, it's not the right time, and it's not, you know, maybe later, maybe after the election. Again, look behind you and see the cost of that course of action. See the cost of the delay. And so that's why we're grateful that we have a courageous leader who is willing to take the banner and lead the charge, Representative Ron Hood, a hero for life.
Well, thank you, Janet. But the real hero for life is standing right behind me, Janet Porter. I just want you to give her a round of applause for all she does and has done for years, in trying to save and protect the babies. And there are probably many here that may wonder why this bill. Why is this bill so difficult to pass? Ohio is notorious for having a pro-life legislature, and have for many years. They're almost a vast majority of the legislators in both houses are endorsed pro-life by more than one organization. So why the trouble? Why 4 years? Well, there's a difference. And I know Janet's pointed this out several times. Because of the Roe versus Wade decision, it's very easy to be a regulator of abortion, to vote for an abortion regulation bill. We're going to do something to make abortions more restrictive or less heinous, or you know, whatever it is that that needs to be done to make abortion a little cleaner and easier. Now we have a bill that actually goes right to the heart, pun intended, right to the heart of the issue, and that is actually ending abortion. And the heartbeat bill in the Blackmun decision in Roe versus Wade, it was stated by it was stated that if the state could actually show that where life begins, then that decision would have no legs to stand on. And I'm paraphrasing that, but the evidence of a heartbeat is clearly the evidence of life. And this bill goes at the heart of the issue. This bill doesn't make you change the way you're going to try to kill a baby. This bill actually prohibits and saves the life. And that's why this bill is so much more difficult. That's why this bill needs prayer. That's why this bill needs your action, because this is a bill that your average, this isn't your flavor of the session pro-life regulatory bill. This is the real thing. And that's why this isn't going to be easy. This isn't going to happen without the blood, sweat, and tears, and without the work that needs to be done to convince your legislators that they need to move this bill. So thank you for being here, and the work is just begun, and the prayers don't end today. We've just begun. We've just begun to fight for the unborn. Thank you so much.
I'm Pastor Rodney Lord from Southeast Ohio, and some of our prayer warriors came, and I'm just honored to be here. These are generals and people that have spent a considerable amount of their life sacrificing for something that's so important. One man came up earlier and prayed and led us in prayer, and he'd been 400 days standing in front of an abortion clinic. And so there's a lot of honor for your sacrifice, and thank you for it. I believe that the heartbeat of the state of Ohio and the heartbeat of this generation is for life. And I believe for too long we've believed that it was, well, 50% maybe this, 50% that, or whatever those numbers are. But I believe that the tide has changed. I believe that the momentum is shifting. We recently had 2 newborns 2 days ago born in our church, same day, same hospital. I got to hold one. I was saying earlier, her name was Victoria. The other one was Evangeline. It's interesting with the technology today that a month or two before these children were born, they were talking about their features and how this one looked like their mother or this one looked like their father. The generation today understands things in greater black and white than the political confusion that has been since the 70s that we have allowed to take place. I'm a pastor of a church, and I will say this, for too long the church has sat on the sidelines in fear because of the so-called separation, which is false, between church and state. There is no separation. I believe, amen, I believe that the heartbeat and the desires of the believers in the church is growing and is pretty much the same throughout the culture, and this generation gets it. And so I believe we're seeing a shift, and I'm grateful for it.
I'm Pastor J.C. Church. I pastor in North Central Ohio. I was thinking coming down here this morning how many times we've had the privilege, most of us who are here as pastors, to stand by someone's bed to watch them as they were getting ready to step from time to eternity, and watch them gasp and come to the final moments and the final breath that they would take, and life would leave them. To watch the doctor or a hospice worker come over to grab their arm or touch their neck to look for a heartbeat, to feel for a pulse. I find it interesting that we use the absence of a heartbeat to determine death, but yet we cannot use the presence of a heartbeat to determine life. That's what this is about. Yes. It really boils down to that much common sense, folks. And so we unashamedly stand for life. Amen. And we appreciate Janet, the leaders, the legislators, those who are working so hard to make the common sense thing known. It's been said that our part God will not do, and His part we cannot do. Right. Having done our part, God will do His part. Amen. There are 88 counties in the state of Ohio. The story was told of the concert pianist who went into the crowd of 5,000 for a wonderful concert. After one song, he shocked the crowd and invited a little boy out of the audience to come and play with him. The little boy had never played. He sat down at the piano, and the concert pianist said, all I want you to do is take this key and just keep pushing it over and over and over when I say go. And the little boy pushes the key over and over and over. And the concert pianist sat down beside him and put his arms around him and began to play so eloquently. And it was just a masterpiece, and 5,000 people roared. And afterwards, the media asked the little boy, how did it feel to play on the stage with this master concert pianist? He said, well, really, it wasn't that hard at all. All I had to do was just play my note. There are 88 counties in our state. There are 88 keys to a piano. Can you imagine if every county, every one of us here were to just play our note in prayer and participate, we would make a song called Freedom in Life. God bless you.
My name's Pastor Corey Shackleton. I pastor a church up in Northwest Ohio, and we've kind of been in this fight with Janet since the beginning, and it came about because we'd stood in front of abortion clinics and prayed, and we did so many different things, knowing that it's what the Lord had called us to do. And yet we said, Lord, there's got to be more. There's got to be something else. And if you open the door, we're going to walk through that, and we're going to stand. And it was just a couple days later, we heard about the heartbeat bill. And you know, to understand why do we stand with the heartbeat bill, why are we able to stand in front of a flag that says appeal to heaven? It's not self-confidence, it's not arrogance. It's because we have the ability to look back at God's founding documents to us in the scriptures and find out that He is for life. Right. In every instance where God displays His nature, He describes that He is for life. We know it's the enemy that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He comes to bring life and to bring it more abundantly. Well, you know, it's interesting that we stand here today on Constitution Day and we talk about our legislature and we talk about their unwillingness to pass this bill, and yet we know that those who founded our country, those who stood up and outlined in our founding documents what we stood for, declared that it was with not much need to think about it because it was a right that was just understood. Yes. The right to life. Now, why is it that they were so confident in that proclamation? They were confident in that proclamation because they received their proclamation from the original proclamation. Amen. The word and the heart and the nature of our God who we serve in this nation. And whether we like it or not, that is the foundation of this state, it's the foundation of this nation, and it's the foundation of the very powers that are represented in this room. Now, the heartbeat bill is one of the greatest crafted arrows at the heart of Roe v. Wade that we've seen. It uses modern science that says the heartbeat is the detector of life. It is the very measure that we use to define whether life exists or it does not exist. It was crafted under prayer, so much so that it wasn't until after it was crafted that the realization came to pass that there's actually an undisputed finding of fact that rests in the United States Supreme Court that says life begins at the detection of the heartbeat. That wasn't even understood. We didn't even know that when this bill was crafted, when Janet and the team worked to craft this bill. God's hand has been on this bill from the very beginning, and I'm confident that it's going to be on it to the very completion and the very end. And so I want to thank every one of you for coming out today. God hears your prayers. Our governor's hearing your prayers. Our legislature hears your prayers. And we're going to continue to stand on the principles of life that God has laid out for us. Thank you.
We can open up for questions if you want to just say your name and where you're from, just for the benefit of those that are here. Does anybody have any questions? Yes? I'm Dan Elder, Hannah News Service. Dan, thank you. Yeah, do you want to answer? We're not giving out how many. We're releasing that when we have the names. We're not giving a number, but we can tell you about the strategy. And Representative Lynch, you want to just talk about what it is that we're looking to do with that?
Yeah, actually, Representative Hood would be better served, but he's not here at the moment. But yeah, the discharge petition, which overrides the committee process and brings it to the floor, needs 50 signatures. We don't have those 50 signatures as yet, but we do have a bunch of signatures. So we're going to continue to try to push. As you know, the legislature is not in session, So it makes it even more difficult to get the signatures. The Representative Hood has to actually personally witness each and every signature. So he literally has to travel around the state of Ohio to try to grab a legislator or two by the neck, you might say, and get their signatures. But so we're in that process now.
I tell people that are discouraged with a discharge petition, and the bad news is it's only, I'm told, worked one other time in Ohio history. That's the bad news. The good news is we were the ones that used it. And so we were, at that time, it was Representative Ron Hood and I that circulated the discharge petition that brought us the nation's first ban on partial birth abortion. And it was shortly, it was actually directly after that that they passed a regulation that said no non-legislators can circulate discharge petitions, and it can give you one guess on who that was aimed at. It's unfortunate. I would have loved to weigh in and help Representative Hood, but he's doing a great job so far.